All right, we are back for Balanced Body, the stress weight connection. So that's what we're talking about every time we come back on, and just basic things to how to balance body, take tools and tips to further increase our success in our balancing of hormones and how all that works. So, welcome, ladies. Today we're going to talk about a really big missing link. And if you showed up and became part of my community through TikTok, this is something that I talk over and over and over on TikTok. And it is stress and cortisol. So here's the truth. And we know this because we have lived it for a really long time. You can be eating clean and exercising, but if that stress hormone is out of whack, your whole body will be in this fight and it will hold on to fat, especially around our midsection. And who here has feels like their stress has been up in their body? You're tired, you're wired, you have cravings, you're struggling with belly fat, you are being everything to everybody, you have a very busy schedule, you're not going to bed at a regular time, you feel like you're glued to your phone a little bit. Like there's so many different things happening in our world that keep us on the go. And I always say stress isn't necessarily a bad thing because the stress in our lives is typically created out of the things we love also. So I always say, like, if you're planning a vacation, can't wait to go on it. It's a big moment. Maybe it's a bucket list vacation, but planning it and getting to the destination and getting to the airport and buying the things you need for it and making sure all your passport information is correct in your app for your flight and all the things, it can be very stressful. So that's a great example of something good in our life that's stressful. Our children love our kids. I've been saying this over and over, and it's because I think I'm dealing with it. My young adult children, they are on their own and they're knocking it out of the park and they're doing all the things and they don't need me like they needed me when they were younger. So I feel like the most stressful phrase my son says to me is, I'll figure it out. I know I'll figure it out. And I'm just like, yeah, but don't you want to talk about it? Don't you want to mill it over? Don't you want to like have your mom's opinion? And he really doesn't. And I have to honor that. But over here, I'm just like, oh, I hope he gets it figured out and I hope it all works well. He needs me to show up as the woman that totally believes in him, that knows he's going to get it done. And if I'm over here freaking out, I can't be that for him. So, what does cortisol do to the body? Cortisol is your stress hormone. It's natural and it's necessary in small bursts. So when we have something come up and we have this burst of cortisol where our brain has to think quick and we have to be on point and all the things, we want cortisol to rise. But we also need it after that moment to come back down. The thing is so many of us can be in a place of chronic stress where we worry about the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And instead of that cortisol coming up, like popping up and then coming back down, it just stays elevated and it hovers in this higher location in our body. And when I mean higher, I mean, we talk about this, your cortisol level has a range and typically it's in the normal range. But instead of like coming up and then falling back down, it just stays up here. And this is chronic high stress, even though it's not outside the normal level. And that's why sometimes when we go to the doctor and we have our labs ran, cortisol's being dismissed because it's in this normal range, but it's still elevated in the normal range. We need it to always come back down. So elevated cortisol is going to increase belly fat. Belly fat, our body goes into fight or flight even when there's not an emergency. We're just on the go when we're busy and we're worried about things. Our body has this fight or flight moment where it's protecting itself and it's hanging on to belly fat. We know this to be true because it can spike our cravings, especially around sugar and carbs. It disrupts our sleep, making our sleep cycle worse because it's also spiking our blood sugar. And we know that if we have blood sugar issues long enough, we're going to end up with a precursor for disease. So this makes sense if you've ever been sleeping soundly and all of a sudden you wake up. It's 3:12 in the morning and you are wired but tired. And you toss and you turn and you take a sip of water and you go to the bathroom and you're counting blessings and sheep and begging just to go back to sleep. But yet it's such a struggle to do that. That is a sure sign that there's a cortisol disruption that's happening. So what do we do? Outside of the supplements that you are likely already consuming to help regulate stress, there is things like breath work, just big breaths before we eat, while we're sleeping. Like if we wake up, some people call it box breathing, where they do this 4, 4, 4, 4, where they breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4. And they do that several times to regulate their not their cortisol, but regulate their central nervous system, which helps lower cortisol. Things like eating protein and fiber. And I know protein is harped on all the time, and especially like in social media and things like that, but we need it. It's harped on because women need plenty of protein as we get older because our muscle mass is naturally diminishing. And strong, lean muscles, it not only helps, define your arms and make you feel good, it also helps balance blood sugar and it helps with bone support. So we always think it's just vitamin D. Protein has a big role in supporting bone growth, helps with cardiovascular issues. So we have healthy heart, healthy circulation. Okay, so we can breathe. We can make sure we're getting enough protein and fiber. Fiber also helps regulate blood sugar and helps keeps cravings down. So that's why those two things are super important. Movement, going outside and being in nature and getting a little walk in, or moving after you eat on your treadmill that's inside your home. Gentle walking or strength training over long, harsh cardio. So many women don't exercise because they think, I don't have an hour in my day. If you have 10 minutes after every meal, you'll walk 30 minutes in a day. 30 minutes typically equates to about 2 miles if you have a 15-minute mile rate. So that's significant. And typically, if we just work it into our day, we can move after we eat. Sleep. Sleep is wildly important. And if we're struggling with sleep, then you're probably going, well, I wish I could. So cortisol resets at night. This is part of the normal rhythm. So cortisol is going to go up during the day, and then after lunch, it's supposed to start coming down. And about the time we go to bed, it should be at its lowest. And then it resets. And then the next day we get up and cortisol rises, and then it continues this cycle. If cortisol does not reset at night, it means you're not going to get any sleep, which means your body's not going to rest and rejuvenate and all of those things that our bodies need while we're sleeping. And it doesn't just affect our energy, it affects our mood and our anxiousness and our feelings of overwhelm. It can help make us snappy or irritable or frustrated. Sleep is so underrated. Supplement support, and you're doing those things, those small shifts that you're slowly noticing, that the longer you use Happy Juice or the longer you use Mood Plus, if those are two of the supplements you ordered, you're noticing stress resilience. You're noticing your cravings go down. You're noticing some emotional balance return. You add GBX Fit, now you've got your insulin and appetite supported. And you can do those things even without GBX Fit, because when we support cortisol, we also support insulin. Those two are foundational hormones. In midlife, the hormones that get the most attention is our estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Those are the ones that get all of the attention. But if we look at our hormones like a hierarchy, we have to start at the foundation level. Just like if we were building a home, we start at the foundation, and that foundation has to be solid, because if it's not solid, the house will come crumbling down. So we don't build the roof before we lay the foundation. The foundational hormones in our body are cortisol, insulin, and believe it or not, oxytocin. It's our love hormone. And cortisol and insulin, they work as a pair. One affects the other all the time. Then in the middle section, like the second level of your home, you're going to find things like DHEA and your thyroid hormone. And then the roof is going to be your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. That it all starts right here on the foundation level of insulin and cortisol. Okay, so out of the things that I just mentioned above, so breathing, protein and fiber, movement, making sure we get enough sleep. We could even add hydration in there, making sure we're getting enough water, and supplement support. What is one habit that you can focus on? So I'm going to take one of them away. You're already consistent with your supplements, right? So what's another thing that you could do throughout the week to help regulate your cortisol and bring your stress back down? So here's the takeaway. Stress, my friend, is not in your head. It's actually a hormone. So if you are feeling stressful, your hormone is imbalanced. When cortisol is calm, your body can actually let go of fat, cravings, and tension. So again, in case you forgot, I'm a teacher. So your homework for the week is to pick one small stress resilient habit and track it. And then note, what kind of shifts do you feel? Are they big shifts where, oh my goodness, now you're sleeping at night? Or are they smaller shifts where you have a little bit more energy during a slower time of the day? Energy or stress is going to zap energy very, very quickly. Stress will trump your energy levels. And then next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about protein gap and why most women aren't getting enough protein and how it impacts our hormones and metabolism. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it was just a reminder that self-care is not something to be put on a to-do list. It's the priority. And doing all of these things will make whatever's on your to-do list fall into place smoother, more easy, and more enjoyable instead of always feeling tense and on the go and frustrated and all of the things that play a huge role in how we show up. So I hope this was helpful. Anytime you need me, you can reach out and text. You can reply to an email. If you want a phone call, just shoot me a text and we'll make time to hop on the phone so we can have a conversation. I want to make time in my day for that. If you need extra support of any kind, please reach out. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, all.